If you want to breastfeed your baby, there are a few things that you should consider before getting started. For example, if you...
I think she's hungry.
1 second. Wow, so sorry guys. What was I saying? Breastfeeding. There are a few things that you should really consider. You know what? Let's get into the video. Hey everybody, welcome back to the couch. My name is Melissa and this is Couch Mom Club. In today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about breastfeeding. I'm going to give you 6 things that you should know about breastfeeding before you get started. So if you're considering breastfeeding your baby, this video is a must watch. So go ahead and hit that like button. And if you're not a part of the club, consider joining the club. Hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. Breastfeeding is a topic that's a little bit of a sore spot for me because I didn't really like it. I mean, my daughter is going on 10 months now and I am still breastfeeding her. She is eating solids and eating other foods, but I am exclusively giving her breast milk. With breastfeeding, there is so much to learn. The topic is really big, so there's a lot of material to cover. But I'm gonna talk to you about 6 things that people don't really talk about. These things you should really consider before you start breastfeeding. They're not deterrents by any means, but they're things that I think that you should know before you take on the task of breastfeeding. And knowing these things might help you to enjoy it a little bit more too. The first thing about breastfeeding that nobody really talks about is the pain. I know that the pain doesn't last forever, but it is notable and it is something to be aware of. When your baby is latching for the first time and that first initial feeling of the letdown when that milk is really coming in, that can be a very painful experience, especially if it's your first time breastfeeding. That pain will not last. However, there might be other painful experiences along the way. For example, if your baby has not latched properly, this can be a painful experience. You want to make sure that the baby's mouth is fully open before latching on. This will reduce or eliminate any potential pain. When the baby's mouth is partially open or not all the way around the areola, the baby is going to be pulling just the nipple, and that pulling feeling is really painful. Other times when you can feel pain during breastfeeding is if you are engorged or you're experiencing something more severe called mastitis. These are conditions that you should really speak to your family doctor about. Any pain that persists in breastfeeding should be addressed with your physician. When you're breastfeeding, there are certain sounds that you can listen for. If you're hearing a smacking of the lips or a clicking sound, that is likely because your baby has not latched properly. That's when you want to break the seal and allow your baby to try again. Simply break the seal by putting your finger in their mouth and opening the seal so that they release the nipple. That way the baby's mouth can open up wide and you can try again. Another sound that you can listen for is to hear that gulping sound when the milk is being transferred from the breast to the baby. So sometimes babies will pool the milk in their mouths and not swallow it, but you can know when they're drinking and swallowing the milk when you're hearing that gulping sound. Listen for it and you'll hear it every time they are taking the milk and it is being transferred from the breast to the baby. Moms often worry that their baby is not getting enough milk. But if you're hearing that gulping sound, then you can rest assured that baby is getting enough milk. Don't forget that at the end of the video, we're going to be doing Mom's the Word, so stay tuned. Something you can look for to measure if your baby is getting enough to eat is not the milliliters of milk, but rather, is your baby wetting enough diapers? Something that goes along with whether or not the baby is getting enough milk is knowing when the baby is hungry. When your baby is crying, that is a late sign of hunger. In other words, don't wait till the baby is crying before you feed them. Look for other signs that the baby is hungry, like the smacking of the lips, the sucking of the finger, or something called rooting. Rooting is when the baby is looking for the breast, often with an open mouth. They kind of look like a bird waiting to be fed. Another thing to take note of when you are breastfeeding your baby is that sometimes a baby can cluster feed. Cluster feeding is just a dietary habit. This usually means that the baby has a larger appetite and wants to eat more frequently. The good thing about cluster feeding is that it helps you to produce more milk. As your baby needs milk, your body will produce it. So don't worry, it is not a sign that you're doing something wrong or you're not giving the baby enough. It is just the baby's preference on how to eat. Normally, this does not last. Sometimes you can do things to help the baby to eat for longer periods of time. If this is not the case, don't worry. There are a few things that you can do to help get through it. For example, consider your positioning. There are so many ways that you can position the baby when you're breastfeeding. If your baby is cluster feeding, you might want to change the position so that you're more comfortable. You don't always have to hold your baby in the same position to feed. There are multiple positions that you can alter and change so that you are more comfortable while you're breastfeeding. I'm going to show you a couple of different positions. Hopefully she cooperates, but I'm gonna give you a better picture of how you can hold your baby when you're breastfeeding. Holding your baby like this is a very common way to position yourself when you're breastfeeding. Sometimes you need to even cup the breast to support it so that baby has enough control and that you and the baby are both comfortable. Holding your baby like this to nurse is a football position. This is usually more helpful when the baby is smaller and less distracted. Drink for the video. Do it for the video. Usually around the first week is when you're gonna find a position like this to be most comfortable. I'm like fighting you. When since I have to fight you to nurse? If you find that your baby's often falling asleep while on the breast, sit them upright so that they can drink and they'll know that sitting up means it's time to eat. Another trick you can do to keep them awake while they're breastfeeding is to remove their clothes so that they're nice and cool. Sometimes a warm and snuggly baby will fall asleep at the breast and not eat much. There are a lot of other positions that you can try when you're nursing your baby. I think that the important thing to note here is that you don't have to remain in the same position all the time. If you need a little help to discover what other positions you can use, put a comment down below and I will be sure to connect with you. The last thing that I want you to be mindful of is that breastfeeding does take some time to get used to. Although it is a natural practice, some might not find that it flows naturally. For example, a new baby might take 20 to 30 attempts at latching before they get it right. And moms might take even longer to really adjust and feel comfortable and confident while breastfeeding. Other things to note is that breastfeeding can be frustrating, especially when you're really tired and baby just wants to eat through the night. I promise you that these times are not gonna last forever. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. And I wanna let you know that although society puts pressures on moms to exclusively breastfeed, to enjoy breastfeeding, and to do it for a long time, whatever you choose, however you choose to nourish your baby is a-okay. I promise you that as long as you are feeding your baby, you are making the right choice. Breastfeeding is a good thing. I love it and I love that I'm able to do it. However, I don't want anybody to feel pressure like they have to do it. It is good if you can do it. But I understand, and you should understand, that not everybody can. Formula-fed babies are fed babies, and that is the goal. We want to make sure that we're feeding our babies and nourishing them so that they can grow and flourish. I hope that you found this video helpful. I wanted to provide you with some things to consider before you breastfeed your baby. And if you found it helpful, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Now it's time for Mom's the Word. Hey, you made it to the end of the video for Mom's the Word, and that is so amazing. Last week we talked about female inventors that happen to be Black, and I think that is so cool because some of you were talking about all these different female inventors that even I had to research and learn a little bit about. One of the ones that really stood out was Alice H. Parker, who had amazing contributions to the way that we currently heat our homes. Now, if you notice, it's winter time, so heating in the house is something that is so important, especially to me because I'm always cold. This week on Mom's the Word, I want to ask you another question. What are you and your family doing to celebrate Black History Month? Put your comments down below and also follow me on Instagram where you can answer the question in my story. Thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. If you like this video and you want to see more, join the club. Hit that subscribe button and click that bell so that you're notified when I post new videos. Follow me on Instagram and on Twitter, and I will see you in the next video.